like imitate, and come and preach like a little message. So I think that Ryan did well by choosing political science. I think it was a good choice. If I'm not mistaken, initially you wanted to do law, right?
Yes, yes.
So either way, I think you would have been good. But he'll tell us more about why he chose political science and his journey. He has an amazing testimony also. And I know that it's God's hand that's really on your life. So as an introduction, I'm just going to ask him to introduce and tell you a little bit about himself, and then we're going to go straight into the interview this evening. So thanks for watching, and I know you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, well, my name is Ryan Henry. I grew up on the Bluff. I'm 21 years old. I study at UKZ in Howard campus. There's not really much that I feel is different from me to the average person, because I feel like the only difference has been that I've honestly just persevered through life's challenges and things. And so I feel like what I've achieved is very achievable for anyone that can just stand up and just be themselves and push through the obstacles they have. And so, yeah.
Yes, that is amazing, Ryan. Just tell us a little bit. I was thinking, like with your schooling background, like coming from, let's start with high school more. Did you think in high school that you would have gotten this far with your studies? What were your plans during your high school years for like your future or your life? What were your dreams, your goals, etc.?
Well, I'll take it further back than high school. Is that when I was younger, in about grade 1, I was actually diagnosed with ADD and CD, which is compliance disorder. And so, like, that never really scared my parents, if I'm being honest, though. They honestly just believed that it wouldn't affect me or do anything. And I never went on Ritalin or anything like that, or any medication. I just learned kind of to behave. And so in primary school, I did quite badly. Like, I was never top achiever. I was like 32 out of 33 in my class. And it's only when I got to high school it didn't even just jump in high school. Like, it went steadily. It increased until I got to about grade 10 or 11. My marks started lifting up. And then by matric, I had gotten 31 points. And I was upset because I needed 32 to do law. And from there, the law field started slipping. That like dream that I had, it like slipped a little. And it's like, instead of I tried to hold on to it. And then my remark came back in matric, and it turned that I got 32 points. So I could have been into law. But by the time that came in, I was already in my first year of university, because I didn't want to wait. I wanted to get straight into it. So I did a Bachelor of Arts in Law. And then another time, I got rejected again because you needed 60 to continue to do legal studies. And I got 58. And I was devastated. Like, I was heartbroken. And then I realized, ultimately, there was a quote that I used to listen to that said, the shark that doesn't swim forward drowns. So you have to just keep moving forward. And so I just kept going on. And so I changed my major there from legal studies to politics.
In your second year?
In my second year, yes. And then I started doing really well for politics. And I was enjoying politics more and more. And then by the time I got to third year, when I had the option after completing my degree of going into law or honors in politics, I chose politics. Because I just felt such a close connection to the history and the learning of it. So, yeah.
Sure, that's an amazing story. I was thinking when I was coming here, because I know a little bit about your background, like with school and stuff, but I didn't know all the details. Like, I know a lot of parents struggle with their kids at school, right?
Yeah.
And they get discouraged because a lot of kids are diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, and they get told that they're not going to be able to study, they're not going to be able to progress in their studies. And you're not the first young man that I've heard, or young person that I've heard testify against that. And they've gone on to achieve a degree, and even in your honors now here. So I think it's encouragement for the parents and students that may be listening out there, you weren't like an A student at all.
Not at all.
And neither was I. And you weren't like, even in your high school you didn't get like fantastic, you actually wanted to get into law and you didn't get in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and you still persevered. And it's good that you're saying that, because I was thinking about perseverance. And something my dad used to say is that perseverance wears out resistance.
Yeah.
So, you actually see it in your life when you continue to persevere through your struggles, through your challenges. And that's like a great testimony to people out there that may feel like, oh, I'm not getting the marks, or I'm not getting the requirements to get in, or maybe they're not doing well at school, or the parents think, oh, this child is not going to do well, they can't get into a degree. But you've proved that wrong, right?
Yeah.
And I know that I've seen many young people prove that wrong. So good on you for persevering, for persisting. That's the one, persistence will wear out resistance. Good on you for being persistent, because I think that's why a lot of young people and even parents like that are sort of guiding their children. They don't get to where they need to get because they give up too soon. And I was saying that to Ashley the other week. I was saying I think one of the keys in succeeding is persisting. Definitely. I wanted to go back a little bit and ask you about like your high school experience. Do you think that it prepared you for university? And do you think that it prepared you, in a sense, for the change that would happen from school, from high school to university?
Yeah, I think that high school is a very important time because it's a developmental stage in your psychology and your mental stage. So I feel like it really does help build your character. However, I don't think anything can really prepare you for how life really takes a turn and how university even takes a turn, because in high school, it was a very strict regiment, because I went to Durban High School. It was such a strict regiment. We'd go to school at a certain time. We'd play sports. We'd be busy 6 out of 7 days a week. And then when it came to university, there's no one watching you. There's no one telling you what to do. You were just free to do your own thing. And that's where a lot of people can get lost and go off and start doing their own thing. It becomes more about you as a person. It becomes so individual and personal.
Absolutely, yes,
so, yeah.
yes. So how did you manage that change, or navigate that change? Because I struggled. My girls laugh at me, because my first year of university, I couldn't handle the freedom. I used to get to university and just decide to go back and go out with my friends. Or nobody's really watching you. There's no you're not accountable in a sense to anybody. So you're free to do what you want. So I know there are probably young people that just started now that are also seeing all this freedom and I can do what I want, but they're also trying to pursue their goals and their studies. How do you get past that? Because as I'm saying, I think I failed. Like first year, I was a total mess, and then after I almost failed all my subjects, and that's when I woke up. And I had to do subs, and then, like supplementaries. And that's how I actually passed to get into my second year. And then I woke up. And then I was serious, and I was like dedicated to my studies. So how did you get past that, Ryan?
See, for me, I think I ended up the same as you, because I even failed 2 modules in my first year. But they were just electives, so it was okay. But it was like, I got very caught up in the freedom and being allowed to just skip a lecture and no one keeping track of you. And by second year, my marks started improving, because the reality hit me that as much as you're with your friends at university and in life and things, is that your friends can pass and you can fail, and your friends can do the same thing as you.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, your friends are not going to be the ones living your life. It's going to be you. And so I did have a lot of fun, and I don't encourage anyone to let their failures or their mistakes hold them down and keep them down. Because those 2 modules that I failed, I even had to do them now last year, and I got Dean's Com while doing them. I got Dean's Commendation while doing overcrediting for modules I failed before. I always say that it's like baby Moses. If you're meant to succeed, even where people fail, you will survive and you will thrive. And you can exceed. So I think my best advice to people is to just, in that transition period, stay true to yourself, remember your goals, and remember that you are ultimately the one who pays for your own actions, and that's what's going to define you.
Yes, that's awesome. I hope that helps some people that are struggling there, or maybe they sort of feeling like overwhelmed in all the freedom that they have now.
Yeah.
That you can stick to your purpose and your goals, because it really doesn't pay off in the
Yeah.
end. Like when I failed most of my courses first year, I was so like despondent and discouraged, and I felt so bad. And then I redeemed myself in a
Yeah.
sense. But I realized after that that it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Like you really just need to focus, because time also goes so fast. I mean,
Yeah.
look at yourself. 4 years is gone like so quickly.
Yeah.
I remember when you were in youth and you were still like like 13, 14, and now you're like 21. Wow, that's like time goes too fast, and
Really does.
you can't waste time. Time is so precious and valuable. So I hope that encourages those out there that are experiencing all the freedom now.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you also, Ryan, like I know you grew up in a Christian home and your parents always brought you to church, and you were also involved in church for quite a bit. And like, how do you feel the role the church has played in sort of bringing you to the point that you have kind of achieved now in your success? How do you think, what is the significance of the church in your achievements now? How important is the church?
For me, the church is absolutely fundamental. Like, I think the church gave you such a powerful balance in your life where you were able to identify that things are not just physical things, that there's spiritual battles taking place. So even in your defeat, you would think this is God giving me another way and preparing another place for me. So it helped me to realize that as much as it seems like you're on your own, God's always there for you and He's always got your back. And like, I grew up in a very Christian home where we went to church maybe 3-4 times a week. On Wednesdays for evening church, I would come in my pajamas, and my mother refused to let us stay at home. She'd bring us and we'd sleep at the church. And it just really, it gave you such a belonging and a community where you just feel the unity and the strength came from a higher purpose than just yourself. And so so the church was completely, I owe everything I have to God.
Wow.
And the church has honestly been the tool in which God has
Yes,
worked through my life the
yes.
easiest, I think.
That's amazing. You know, so many people say that, and I think a lot of the time the church is undermined,
Yeah.
like in its importance and its relevance in
Yeah.
society today.
Absolutely.
Like we as Christians know the importance, and those that have
Yeah.
experienced it, we know the truth. And I'm so happy that you've achieved so much so far. Because it's also a testimony
Yeah.
to people out there. Because some people think like we're all about just in our own little bubble, and we in some kind of like exclusive little club or something
Yeah.
that we can't relate to things that are happening
Like
in
we're
the earth or in the
disconnected
world.
from the world.
Yes, it's people out there that have not experienced what we have.
Yeah.
They have this perception, or that's their perspective on the church. But I like what my father says: the church is not peripheral to the world. The world is peripheral to the church.
Yes.
And I think more and more we're going to start to see, especially with young people like yourself, and those of us that are also working both fields in a sense, where God is going to raise up many strong Christian women and men, young men and women as well, that will actually be a voice for the church out there. You know what I'm saying? Not just in the sphere of the church itself, but in the world. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's really great to see that you've risen up to this point, you know, as well. But I also want to ask you, with regards to like you having studied politics, right, and you've gone right up to now you're on honors level. What are your goals going forward? What made you choose to study political science? Like, why would you? I know you said you initially wanted to do law, and then you kind of diverted and felt that you were more drawn to that. But aside from feeling inside that maybe you were drawn to those studies, what's your goals? What do you hope to achieve through these studies?
Yeah. Well, politics is such a very open kind of field where you can literally drift into anything. My initial goal was to start lecturing in universities.
That's good.
And like with lecturing, I was hoping to further my studies while I do that, and then go into government and help with political parties and structure it, because ultimately you see that people in power are the ones that can make the change.
Yes,
And so I believe that you can make the change anywhere where you are. But if you have, like I know someone always said, if you aim too high, if you if you ain't aim too high, then you aim too low.
right, right, right.
And we serve a big God. We can't. If your dream doesn't scare you, then it's not really a dream. It's a
Absolutely,
fantasy.
absolutely.
And
Yes.
so yeah, so I've aimed as high as I can go. My
That's
goals are
awesome.
rough for now, but I feel like with time they will get more cemented.
Yes, definitely. And I think it's also like some people want to see the full picture,
Yeah.
but it's like I was saying last week, it's one step at a time, isn't it?
Very
Like
true.
myself finding where I am right now in studies, I never really sort of saw myself fully there. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I took it one step at a time
Yeah.
because I think people want to just see the end
Yeah.
before like the journey that goes to that end. So it's important to enjoy the journey,
Yeah.
but also take the journey. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? Without being so focused on what's at the end that you miss the steps along the
Yeah.
way, or even as God is guiding you along the way. So I get what you're saying in that. You probably don't know the ultimate, but you
Yeah.
have
You
sort of
have
an
your idea.
inclination or you have an idea of where you're going to, which is amazing. There's another question I wanted to ask you. What do you think, Ryan, is your view now on this current political situation? Okay, now at the moment, I'm sure some that are watching are wondering how you're studying. You're at UKZN,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of like political kind of upheaval now
Yeah.
about fees, about different. You can tell us a little bit of what is the main thing that students are striking about now, and also students don't have access to university fully right
Yeah.
now. So maybe just talk a little bit about that and what's your view on that? Where are we going as a nation, first of all, with regards to university and actually physically attending university, because a lot is
Yeah.
online now. Maybe you can just share a little bit about that.
Um, the way I see it is you can't stop a pandemic no matter how hard you're gonna try. Like the greatest nations, America, Italy, every European first world country even has suffered from COVID. So as a third world country, I think we also need to cut South Africa some slack in that it is something that people have not been able to deal with of the highest degree.
Yes,
And so yeah, um, COVID obviously puts online learning to where it is today and made it what it is today. And I must say, online learning is not as tough as I thought it would be,
okay.
because the semester I did the best in was the online semester.
Wow,
Mm. And I think it's made the strike so much harder because, as we were saying earlier, people can't strike in the buildings anymore because there's no one there. And you realize that the real thing that made the strike so powerful were the people and the terror that the people had. So now, if you burn down a building now at UKZN, you're not going to achieve anything because there's no one there. There's
right.
no one that sees it.
Okay.
And so the online learning will keep going.
Oh, yes, that's true. Yeah.
And so, as a nation, with COVID, I think that it can be dealt better and more effectively. But I also think that there's a lot of infrastructural gaps that South Africa has that make it so much harder to combat the virus. Like when you look at the African Union,
Yeah.
70% of the African Union is funded by other countries, by foreign countries.
Wow.
So we don't really generate enough to actually combat the virus on our own.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
it is quite tough, and it's something that I think you have to just let pass. You know, it's like a
Yeah.
season.